Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please exercise caution while watching. The courtroom was so quiet you could hear your own heartbeat. Every chair was filled, reporters gripped their pens, and the air felt thick with tension. The judge looked over his glasses and called the next witness. Heads turned as a man walked to the stand, his face known to millions, but his expression heavy with pain. It was Pharrell Williams, the music genius behind the Neptunes. Happy and decades of hits. At 52, he was not the smiling producer or fashion icon the world adored. He wore a plain black suit, his eyes carrying the weight of secrets he had held for nearly 40 years. He was here to testify in a federal case against Sean "Diddy" Combs, charged with racketeering, coercion, and running a criminal enterprise built on exploitation. What Pharrell was about to say would send shockwaves through the music industry and beyond. Pharrell sat down, took a deep breath, and began. "I was 14 years old when I first met him," he said, his voice steady but soft, like he was pulling the words from a deep, dark place. "I was a kid from Virginia Beach, dreaming of making music. I had no idea what I was walking into." The jury leaned forward, their faces serious, as Pharrell painted a picture of his early life. He grew up in a modest apartment. His mom was a school teacher, and his dad was a mechanic. Music was his world, banging on pots for drums, writing songs in spiral notebooks, sneaking into his school's band room to play. In 1987, a local producer heard his demo tape and said he knew someone in New York who could change his life. That someone was Sean "Diddy" Combs, a rising music executive with a reputation for spotting talent. "My mom was scared," Pharrell said. "She did not want me to go, but they told her it was my big break, so she trusted them." At 14, Pharrell was sent to New York to work with Diddy, who promised to mentor him and turn his raw talent into stardom. "I thought I would be learning how to make beats, how to produce," Pharrell said, but it was not like that. He described stepping into a sleek Manhattan penthouse, not a studio. The place was alive with energy, loud music, flashing lights, people everywhere. Some were famous, faces he had seen on TV. Others were strangers, dressed in designer clothes, holding drinks. "There were bottles of champagne on every table," Pharrell said. "The air smelled like smoke and expensive cologne. I was a kid from a small town. It was like stepping into another world." The first night set the tone. Diddy welcomed him with a wide smile, calling him the future of music. But the mentorship was not about songwriting or recording. Instead, Pharrell was told to soak it all in. He was invited to parties, not studio sessions, and introduced to people who did not talk about music, but about power, connections, and loyalty. "He called it the life," Pharrell said. "He told me, 'This is how you make it, kid. You watch, you learn, you stay quiet.' I did not know what he meant at first, so I just nodded." Pharrell spoke with a strained voice as he described a night that changed everything. It was a few weeks after he arrived. It was at a private club in Harlem. Diddy said it was a showcase for new artists. But when Pharrell got there, the vibe was wrong. The lights were low, casting red shadows. People wore masks, not costume masks, but ones that hid their faces completely. Music played softly, almost like a hum. Pharrell, only 14, stood frozen. "I saw things I could not understand," he said. "There were rooms off to the side, curtains half open. I heard whispers, laughter, and sometimes crying. I saw cameras in the corners, their red lights blinking. I thought maybe it was a music video, but it wasn't." He said Diddy pulled him back to the main room. He said, "You are not ready for this yet, kid. Go wait over there." I did not sleep that night. I kept thinking, what did I just see? The courtroom was silent, the weight of his words settling over everyone. Pharrell said he tried to focus on music after that, begging to spend time in the studio. But Diddy kept pulling him into his world. Late-night parties, private trips, meetings with people who spoke in code. "I was a teenager," Pharrell said. "I did not know how to say no. I did not even know I could." He described a trip to Miami when he was 15, called a creative retreat. It was just him, Diddy, and a few others at a secluded beach house. There was no studio, no instruments, Pharrell said. just people coming and going, day and night. I was told to stay in my room most of the time. One night I heard a scream. I looked out my window and saw shadows moving on the beach. The next morning, everyone acted like nothing happened. Pharrell looked at the jury, his eyes heavy. That was when I started to see it, he said. The music was just a front. The real business was control. He claimed Diddy had a way of making young artists feel special, like they were chosen, but it came with a price. He would say, "You're family now, but family does not make you sign papers to keep secrets," Pharrell said. At 15, he was handed a contract labeled a development deal. The words were confusing, full of legal terms he did not understand. His aunt, who came with him to New York, signed it, trusting the adults around them. It was not just about my music, Pharrell said. There were clauses about confidentiality, about not talking about private events. I did not know what I was signing, but it felt wrong in my gut. That contract kept me silent for years, he said. It made me feel like what I saw, what I felt was not real, like I was crazy for even thinking about it. The contract included phrases about proprietary activities and discretionary conduct, words that now sounded scary in the courtroom. Pharrell said he was told it was standard for young artists under big labels, but years later, he realized it was a leash. They did not want my songs, he said. They wanted my silence. Pharrell's testimony moved to a specific moment when he was 16 at a mansion party in Los Angeles. He thought it was a chance to network with producers, but the scene was familiar. Dim lights, security at every door, a strange mix of people. I saw celebrities, people from music videos, he said, but they were not there to work. They were watching something. He described a locked room at the back of the mansion. Diddy told him to stay out, but Pharrell's curiosity got the better of him. I peeked through a crack in the door, he said, his voice low. I saw people in masks, cameras rolling, and someone crying. It was not a party. It was something else, something planned. Some people were naked and were entertaining the others. He backed away, heart racing, and left the mansion that night. I told myself I would never go back, he said, but I was already in too deep. Since he had no other place to stay, he had to return the mansion. He explained how Diddy influence lingered. If you wanted to work, you stayed in line, Pharrell said. If you asked questions, your calls stopped getting answered. Your demos got shelved. The courtroom grew tense as Pharrell described a confrontation in 1990 when he was 17. He had started working with his childhood friend Chad Hugo, forming the Neptunes, and wanted to focus on producing. He told Diddy he did not want to attend the parties anymore. He looked at me like I was crazy, Pharrell said. He said, "You don't get it, do you? This is the game. You don't play, you don't win." I told him I just wanted to make music. He laughed and said, "Music is the smallest part of this." Pharrell said that after that conversation, opportunities dried up. Studio time got canceled. Producers he had been promised meetings with stopped responding. It was quiet, but it was clear, he said. Step out of line and you are out. Pharrell admitted he kept quiet because he was scared, not just of losing his career, but of something worse. There were always people around him, Pharrell said. Security, assistants, men who did not say much, but watched everything. You felt like they knew your every move. There was no way he could escape them. Pharrell then described a scary trip to Las Vegas when he was 18. Diddy had invited him to a celebration for a new artist's signing. Pharrell thought it would be a concert or a club event, but it was another private gathering. The hotel suite was huge, like a maze, and he said, there were rooms within rooms and every door had a guard. He saw young artists, some younger than him, being led into private areas. I heard someone say, "They are ready for the next step," Pharrell recalled. I did not know what it meant, but I felt sick. I left early, but not before I saw something I will never forget. He paused, looking down. There was a kid, maybe 16, sitting alone in a corner. He was naked. He looked scared. I asked if he was okay, and he just shook his head. The next day I asked about him. No one knew who I was talking about. Pharrell's testimony then shifted to the contracts that kept him trapped. He said that by 19, he was locked into a deal that gave Diddy label control over his music, image, and even his personal appearances. I did not own my songs, he said. I did not own my name for years. He claimed the label took millions in royalties, and when he asked questions, he was reminded of his contract's confidentiality clauses. They would say, "You signed it, kid." "This is how it works," Pharrell said. He submitted emails from 1995 when he tried to renegotiate his deal. The response from the label's legal team was cold. Any breach of confidentiality will result in immediate termination and legal action. Pharrell looked at the jury. That was not about music. That was about control. He described a moment in 1996 that nearly broke him. He was invited to a meeting in New York with Diddy and several executives. "They said it was about my future," Pharrell said, "but it was not." He arrived at a penthouse expecting a business discussion. Instead, he found a small group of men in suits, none of whom he recognized. "They did not talk about my music," he said. "They threatened me. They told me I was part of something bigger, and they cannot afford to let me go. One of them said, 'You are either in or you are out. There is no middle.' I understood what they meant, and I felt trapped." Pharrell said Diddy watched the whole time, saying nothing. "That silence scared me more than words," he said. "Some people just threatened to murder me, and Diddy did not say anything." After that night, Pharrell started having panic attacks. "I would wake up sweating, thinking about that room, those faces," he said. "I did not tell anyone. I could not." The courtroom's atmosphere then grew heavy as Pharrell spoke about the toll it took. By his early 20s, he was a rising star with the Neptunes, but inside he was unraveling. "I would be in the studio, making hits, but I felt like a fraud," he said. "I was smiling for the cameras, but I was carrying secrets I could not share." One of the most emotional moments came when Pharrell spoke about his family. "My mom did not know," he said, tears in his eyes. "She thought she was giving me a chance at my dream. She blamed herself when I came home quiet, different. I could not tell her what I had seen. I did not want to break her heart." He said he stayed silent for years to protect his family, his career, and the other artists he cared about. "I thought if I spoke up, I would lose everything, including my life," he said. "But keeping quiet cost me more. It cost me peace." The testimony then became traumatizing when Pharrell described a night in 2000 at a private estate in the Hamptons. He was 27, starting to gain fame with the Neptunes, but still tied to Diddy Circle. He was invited to what he thought was a charity event. "It was anything but," he said. The estate was massive, with gates and guards everywhere. Phones were taken at the door. "I saw young artists, some younger than me," he said. "They looked nervous, like they did not want to be there." He saw contracts being signed, NDAs, but not like any he had seen before. "They were not about music," he said. "They were about silence, about agreeing to things no one should agree to." He refused to sign and left, but not before overhearing a conversation. Someone said, "If they talk, they are done." I knew what that meant. Pharrell's voice grew firm as he spoke about the aftermath. "I started pulling away," he said. "I focused on my work, on the Neptunes, on building something real. But every time I thought I was out, something pulled me back." He claimed Diddy would call out of the blue, inviting him to events or dropping hints about their past. He would say things like, "You owe me, kid. Don't forget where you came from." "But I didn't owe him anything," Pharrell said. "He didn't give me my talent. He didn't make me. All he did was show me a world I wish I had never seen." The courtroom was stunned when Pharrell revealed a piece of evidence, a letter he wrote in 2002 but never sent. People whispered in low tones. He read it aloud, his voice shaking. "Dear Puff, I don't know if you will ever read this. I don't know if I will ever send it, but I need you to know what you did to me. You showed me a world that broke something in me. I was a kid, and you put me in rooms I should not have been in. You made me sign things I did not understand. You made me think silence was the only way to survive. I am writing this because I am tired of carrying it. I am tired of being afraid." He looked up from the letter. "I never sent it because I was still scared, but I am not scared anymore." Pharrell's testimony then shifted to the broader impact on his life. He spoke about the years of nightmares that woke him in a cold sweat, the guilt of staying silent while others suffered. "I would see young artists on TV, new faces, and I would wonder if they were going through the same thing," he said. I wanted to warn them, but I did not know how. I was still carrying my own chains. He was famous, but he was not free. He was rich, but he was not whole. I barely survived, but what about the others? Pharrell's voice broke as he continued his testimony. I was thinking about the kids I had seen, the ones I saw naked in the mansion's rooms. I did not know their names, but I saw their faces in my dreams. He said he started writing music as a way to cope, pouring his pain into beats and lyrics. Every song I made was a piece of me trying to heal, he said, but no song could erase what I had seen. Pharrell's testimony grew more intense as he described a second confrontation with Diddy in 2005. He was 32, at the peak of his career, but still haunted by the past. He met Diddy at a music event in Los Angeles and tried to talk privately. I told him I wanted out, completely out, Pharrell said. I did not want my name tied to his world anymore. He said Diddy laughed, then got serious. He said, "You think you can just walk away? You are in this for life." I told him I did not care, that I would rather lose everything than keep living like this. Pharrell said that after that, he started getting strange messages, texts from unknown numbers, voicemails with no voice, just static. I don't know if it was him, he said, but I know it was not a coincidence. Pharrell said he got scared again and stopped trying to leave. Pharrell's voice grew urgent as he spoke about the younger generation. I see kids now, starting out, full of hope, he said. I want them to know the truth. This industry can be beautiful, but it can also be a trap. You have to be careful who you trust. He said he had spent years mentoring young artists, trying to protect them without telling his own story. I would tell them to read every contract, to ask questions, to never go anywhere alone, he said. But I could not tell them why. I was not ready. Some listened to his advice and turned out fine, but some others still fell into the industry's trap. Pharrell then continued his testimony and spoke about a night in 2007 at a private event in Chicago. He was 34, invited by Diddy to a networking dinner. He went, hoping things had changed, but he was wrong. It was the same, he said. Dim lights, guards, people who did not belong. I saw a young artist, maybe 17, being led to a back room. I followed, but a guard stopped me. He said, "Not for you." I left that night and never went back. Pharrell said that moment pushed him to start breaking ties completely again. I stopped taking his calls, he said. I stopped going to his events. I focused on my music, my family, and my life. But the past would not let go. Pharrell described a moment in 2010 when he was 37. He was working on a documentary about his career and wanted to include a segment about his early days. I did not even mention him, he said, but somehow his team found out. I got a letter from their lawyers reminding me of my NDA. It said, "Any unauthorized disclosures will result in legal action." I scrapped the segment. He said the fear lingered, even as he became one of the biggest names in music. I would be on stage performing for thousands, but inside, I was still that 14-year-old kid, scared to speak. Pharrell's voice cracked as he spoke about the guilt. I kept quiet for so long, he said. I saw things and I did not stop them. I saw kids like me and I did not save them. That is the hardest part. He said he had spent years trying to make up for it, quietly supporting young artists, funding music programs, and speaking out in small ways. But it was not enough, he said. I knew I had to do this, to tell the truth, no matter what it cost me. Pharrell then looked over to where Diddy was in the court. He said, "You didn't break me. You tried, but you didn't. And now I'm telling the world what you did. You took kids and turned them into victims. You took their dreams and turned it into nightmares. You are a monster." The courtroom erupted. There was noise everywhere. Some applauded Pharrell for his words. Some cursed Diddy's name loudly. Pharrell's words were not just a testimony. They were the result of years of silent suffering, finally given a voice. His pain, once hidden behind music and fame, was now laid bare for the world to see. This was more than justice. It was liberation. For years, he had carried the weight of what he saw, what he experienced, what he was forced to keep quiet. Now at 52, he was free, not just from Sean Diddy Combs, but from the silence that had haunted him since he was 14. The judge called a recess, but no one moved. The truth was out, and it could not be ignored. For Pharrell, it was the end of a long battle. For the music industry, it was just the beginning.